Good day, my name is Scott Kinney with Discovery Education, and it is my pleasure to be joined today for our One Idea series with Dr. Lynn Moody, the Superintendent of Rowan-Salisbury in beautiful North Carolina. About 20,000 students in Rowan, if I'm not mistaken. Dr. Moody was also previously the Superintendent of Rock Hill, South Carolina for 7 years, has been a teacher, administrator, coach, multiple sports. And is really doing a lot of things quickly, I would think. I think you could agree in Rowan, Salisbury. Dr. Moody, one of the things that you talked about a little bit earlier was kind of the importance of the principal in a transformation. So could you talk a little bit about that? Why is that so critical?
Well, we really think that's key. That's the key to the transformational piece, is to have strong principals who have a shared vision and they clearly know the direction of the school district so they can lead that transformation in their building. Once you get in the building, we all know as a principal there's a million decisions to make over the life of a day of school. So to keep their focus in the right direction, we felt like building capacity in our principals to lead through that transformation would be important.
How do you create that shared vision? I mean, what is that? Is that a process? Is that just something that happens naturally?
It is a process, and I know a lot of people use the word journey, but it truly is a journey. It takes a long time to build trust. We were just talking about that as a staff today. You don't do that kind of process in a year. When we look at some of the school districts who have really made great progress, it was a multiple year with their leadership team kind of being in place and moving in one direction. So we started our journey with talking about what our strategic plan would look like. And we spent a good 6 months just developing what were the pieces. So the number one piece for us was to look at literacy, because we knew that our literacy scores were not where we wanted them. Then we looked at a digital transformation. What is our digital conversion would look like, and what would that have to do with that piece? How we'd use problem-based learning, and what our professional development would look like. So we tried to only focus on 3 or 4 topics, saying literacy is first. The digital conversion would be the tool that we would use to get there. So that's where we began our process.
That's great. Now, do you have your principals, when they work, do they work together as a cohort? What does that relationship look like between them and say, you or your central office?
Well, we finished our strategic plan. We felt like as a team, we didn't know each other as a team. So one of the most important things that we did is we spent a couple of days at Milliken in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And we toured Milliken, and I don't know if you know anything about the Milliken story, but Milliken makes carpet. And they're one of the only companies, or the only company in the United States that's still a high producer, where everybody else moved overseas. And they did that in the middle of an era where they had a tragic fire in one of their plants that should have, by all rights, taken them under. And so they tell this story about how they stayed the course and actually transformed their company in a way that's now they lead the carpet industry. And so I felt like that was a great story for our principals to hear. They have an innovation gallery and all the things that they touch through that. So we spent 2 days really talking, enjoying each other. We had a cornhole tournament the first night. People had t-shirts, they made bets. I mean, we had a great dinner out on the grounds. We toured the innovation gallery, and we talked about how could we showcase our work in the way that they showcase work. Milliken is one of the top 5 most ethical companies in the world. So what does it mean to be ethical and driven by ethics? So we had great dialogue about those things. That 2 days really gave us an opportunity to get to know each other in a different way. And that set the tone for our strategic plan and process. So kind of yes to the question, do we do it group-wise, individually, and in small teams? We've done a little bit of all of that. We started with our large team at Milliken for a few days, and then during the course of the summer, we started to break that out. The second thing we did was we went to ISTE as a group. We took 160 teachers and principals to the ISTE conference, and we traveled in charter buses, and we shared rooms. Everybody shared a room. And it was a really get to know you conference, because we spent the entire time together. But every night we would debrief, and every day on the bus. It was a great experience for our district. So those two big things last summer to start us with.
That's great. Now, do you see that being shared kind of down with, do the principals take that same approach with their classroom teachers? I mean, do you hope that transfers into the building culture?
Yeah, it's been great fun to listen and watch some of this, because principals came back and said, is it okay if I have a retreat with my staff before school starts to talk about our strategic plan? Do you mind if we get away for somewhere for 2 days? And many of them did exactly that. We saw principals have begged us for opportunities to go and see things that they heard about at ISTE with their teams or staff. And that's exactly what we wanted to happen as part of that. Our teachers and principals came back from that conference, and we did our own back to school conference with all of our employees, with over 2,000 teachers in our district. But that led to those teacher leaders who were developed in that process, which were driven really by the principal leadership. So I just keep going back to the principal has to be able to see it, articulate it, know what it looks like, it feels like. We went as groups, so we individualized by grade level, like elementary, middle, and high. And we went to tour Mooresville, and so we did a school visit there. Now we've got smaller groups by schools going to IPrep in Miami. We have a team that's going to Houston to go and look. We had a team that went to Columbia to look at high school practices there. We've had, we're taking all our elementary principals to Washington, D.C. to see guided reading. So I believe strongly in Toyota's philosophy, go and see it. To build the capacity in our principals, it's not about me telling them what that looks like. They have to go see it. And if they can see it and visualize it, then they can help their teachers do that, and then they can provide those experiences for their teachers to go and see. Yeah. But it begins with them really seeing what that looks like.
There's been a kind of saying in education, which is some people are arguing right now a little bit that significant change takes 3 to 5 years. There's a lot of research around that. It seems like you move pretty quickly, though. You implement a lot of change, educational change, pretty quickly. I'm curious, how do you fall on that? Do you really think it's 3 to 5 years, or do you think you can make a pretty significant change sooner than that?
Well, if you would ask my husband, he would probably tell you I'm the most impatient person in the world. But I think Rowan-Salisbury was positioned perfectly when I got here. We had already bought a lot of technology. We had model classroom teachers in every room, so it didn't start when I got here. The work had already clearly began before I became the superintendent here. It was one of the pieces that was easy for our community to come around. I'm not sure why, but we've been arguing with our county commissioners and our city council over things for years, but this one idea about a digital conversion was easy for them to accept because they knew the economy needed to change and they were looking for a handle. So we were kind of ripe for those conditions. So I'll admit that the journey was easier. In Rock Hill, it took longer because, quite honestly, we were more successfully academically. So they weren't as impatient themselves. But in Rowan-Salisbury, we wanted to do something differently. We wanted to see some great gains, and we had put so many pieces in place, it was easy for me to move quickly. Now, I'll say we moved quickly, but we've still moved slowly. We spent the day today talking about our next step, which is all the pieces that we need to put in place around that. So we had a tremendous deployment of technology tools, but we still have lots of professional development to do with how to use those tools and who will be our partners in moving that ahead.
Right. Well, one question for you. I mean, it can't all be that easy, right? So I'm sure that as you're building capacity with your principals and they're an integral part of this, do you ever get to the point where you have folks that say to you, like, there's too much too fast, and how do you handle that? How do you work through those issues?
Yeah, we absolutely have people who say it's too much too fast, and everybody's learning at a different level. And then we have other principals who are like, give it to me, throw it to me as fast as you can. We can't move quick enough, and they are impatient with that process as well. And in some ways, my role is kind of like herding cats. It's like, how do you pull a whole team together so they share those experiences with each other? At ISTE, we had a great opportunity. Some of our teacher leaders came back and wanted to lead certain segments. So we have something I think is really exciting. We have a Twitter chat every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. It's led by teachers in our district, not by a lot of our administrators chime in on that. But our teachers lead that, and we talk about where we're going. Now, you can imagine that most of the people that are in that Twitter chat are folks who are early initiators,
right,
that are real excited about it. But then they go back to school and they talk about that work. Oh, somebody said this in a Twitter chat. So I guess going back to your question about can you really do this in less than 3 to 5 years? We made a list today of all the things we've done over the course of the last year, and we are so proud that we had a laundry list of accomplishments. But we spent the rest of the day talking about what else needs to be done in every single department to move ahead. And we spend more time talking about where we need to go than where we've been. So when I look at the plan, I think, oh, there's no way we'll do it all in 5 years, because it really is a journey and it changes all the time. But I think you can make significant headway in a year. I think you can make true headway in 3 to 5 years.
That's great. That's a great way to look at it. So, well, let me go ahead and end it there. One idea with Dr. Lynn Moody, an incredible leader and doing incredible things in Rowan-Salisbury. So, Dr. Moody, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you.
Take care.